First of all, thank you so much, all of you. This is one of my favorite events. It's always been one of our favorite events. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces. So I'll just give you a brief little synopsis of what Coloring for Chemo is. Coloring for Chemo began 7 years ago when my best friend and business partner was diagnosed with breast cancer. And Nina was being treated at Nevada Cancer Institute here in Las Vegas. And her treatment would last anywhere from 4 to 5 hours at every one of her treatments. And I would get bored. I went to every single one of her treatments with her. And they were wonderful there. You could get books, you could watch movies. But at certain points with most chemotherapy patients, when they start receiving the chemo, they get what's called a chemo brain. And you can't really concentrate. It's hard to read, it's hard to watch a movie. It's even hard to carry on a conversation. So one day I thought, I'm gonna bring in coloring books and crayons. My kids always loved it, it's mindless. What a fun way to just spend the time. And we did. We wound up coloring the entire time we'd be there. We got everybody at Nevada Cancer Institute coloring in the chemotherapy unit, which was crazy because it was all adults. And it was the patients themselves, it was their caregivers, and it was just something to pass the time that was comforting. And on Nina's very last visit, her very last chemo treatment, I sent out an email to all my friends and family, and I said, this has been such a wonderful thing to so many people. I want to pay it forward. So I just want everybody, if you can just give me a coloring book and a box of crayons, I want to leave a basket at the Nevada Cancer Institute and pay it forward. I was inundated with coloring books and crayons. It was crazy. It was wonderful. And we had a big cancer party. As a matter of fact, it was a fuck cancer party. And the nurses loved it. And we left an enormous amount of coloring books and crayons at the Nevada Cancer Institute. We leave, our story ends, and I get a call from the nurses at Nevada Cancer Institute a couple months later that says, hey, Amy, we're out of coloring books and crayons. I'm like, okay. So again, I call my friends and family, and again, they come through, and I delivered more. And I met up with Karen Davis from UMC Children's Hospital, who said, this is pretty cool, and would you be interested in coming to UMC's Children's Hospital? And then that's when this thing took off like wildfire. From that point on, we went into UMC's Children's Hospital, UMC's Adult Oncology System. We are at UMC's Fire Burn Center. We are in their emergency room. I am at every single St. Rose hospital. I am at Sunrise Hospital. I am now at Salt Lake City's Children's Primary Hospital. I am the last person to be in charge of a nonprofit organization. This is not my job. This is what I did for my best friend. This was one of Nina's favorite events, and unfortunately, on March 17th, Nina was diagnosed with cancer again, and this time it came back with a vengeance. From the day that Nina was diagnosed until the day she passed away on May 8th, 8 weeks, it took her life. I promised her that I would continue coloring for chemo in her honor. So this is the very first event that I've been to without her. And I couldn't be more special because she loved this group. She was a writer. She had a book published. She wrote a book on retail sales. So needless to say, this was her group. And for you guys to keep continuing supporting us, supporting me and what I'm doing in her honor, I cannot thank you enough. And for this to be my first event out without her is very special with you, all of you. So thank you. Thank you very, very much. And to tell you, this has gotten so crazy. I deliver every 4 to 6 weeks over 1,500 to 2,000 coloring books and crayons to just the Las Vegas Valley, to just the children's pediatric units. And because funding has been cut in most of the hospitals, especially at UMC, if it wasn't for you guys, these kids would get nothing. especially at UMC Children's Hospital. This is the only art, all the art materials that they get. And I've had doctors, nurses, child life therapists, and so many other people tell me that the impact that coloring and art has on a child that's ill is unbelievable. When you're coloring, when the side of your brain that is your creative side is in its process, the side that feels pain and discomfort doesn't register. So it lowers these children's blood pressure. It gets them an opportunity for the nurses and doctors and their parents to see what color crayon they're using, what they're coloring, how they're coloring, to start a dialogue on how these children are feeling. Because a child who is 4 years old that is going through chemotherapy or going through a horrible illness, they don't have the vocabulary to explain what they're feeling. But if a child is using a black crayon or a brown crayon or a gray crayon or drawing something, even the way they're holding the crayon, a child life therapist can say, what's going on? How are you feeling? Is there something bothering you? It's a line of communication for them to open up with these children. So when they told me this, I was blown away. I could not believe that something as simple as coloring was making such an impact for doctors, for nurses, and for these children. I also go into the hospital once a month and we do a craft day with the kids that are in the hospital. And we make the biggest messes and the nurses love it. They could care less because we get the kids out of their rooms and for an hour to 2 to 3 hours, they forget they have cancer. They forget they're hooked up to an IV machine. They forget about a procedure that they had an hour ago. They get to be a regular kid for a little while and make a mess. And because of people like you, I get to keep doing this with them. So that's what Coloring for Chemo is. I'm not going away. I hope you guys keep continuing to support me and my little foundation. And again, to let you know that you were really a huge part of Nina's life. And I thank you.
Thank you.